Welcome to video 2 of my demolition. This week I was able to meet my neighbors, one of whom warned me that the beams in my house might be too rotten and they might fall apart. She is an elderly lady and told me several times that it might be a bad idea to do this whole thing. But here it is last week, what everything looked like, pretty much junk laying everywhere. That's where I was at last week. This week I'm planning to rip the rest of this out, getting it done, basically stripping everything down inside to nothing. So this look around from last week, and then here I am tearing out the mud oven. It was interesting how this was built. There was clay bricks everywhere that was close to any fire or anything that would have been any heat. It's clay bricks with mud in between, and then mud or plaster, I don't know which it was, around the edges. Then wherever there was any, no fire would have touched it, there was some mud bricks that they had made themselves, and I'll show that to you a little later on, how they actually made that. I'll show you an example of that. So this was tearing off all those bricks, saving them. I wanted to save these clay bricks and see if maybe I could recreate this oven in the future somewhere outside, maybe if I could save all the metal and everything from it. I think it would make a really nice outdoor oven. It would be kind of unique to use the same materials from the house outside. This took some time, prying everything apart, tearing it down, getting everything destroyed, setting it aside. I tried stacking everything up nicely, and also cleaning the mud off of everything. After the oven itself was destroyed, I started work on the wall behind, and this is the wall that was made from those mud bricks that were basically just straw and mud mixed together. And here I bring one to the camera so you can see what that looks like. As I had said at the beginning of the video, I was able to meet my neighbor down by her fence this week, which was I was very pleased with. I told her that if I cause any issues or any problems, please let me know. She pointed to her chickens and said, I have enough problems of my own. I wish more people in life would be like that. They would see their problems and not try to make everybody else's problems their own. I was also able to meet my other neighbor from directly across the street, and he speaks good English, the son of the owners of the property next door, and he's out there a lot, so looking forward to be able to meet him more, hang out more, and maybe explore some of the back country with him. He has a metal detector, and he knows a lot of the ruins in the area. Well, as we were bearing this junk out, I heard some sheep bells, so I went to the window, and there were some sheep in my neighbor's yard with the shepherd, and they immediately attacked his grapevines. And then I went back to work, wheelbarrowing it out. This was the most tedious task so far, and I had a mountain of mud. Then I got to work taking out all this iron that was in that stove. I had taken out the bricks earlier. And I took all this out, put it in a pile outside, and then took these posts out. I'd like to reuse these posts somehow or another. A lot of them have notches in them or other problems with them, but I think they'd be rather unique to use them as a outbuilding of some sort. Wood around here is not the easiest to come by, so I think as long as I can hang on to whatever I can, I'll be happy in the future. After I met my neighbor that knows English quite well, I met the lady again that lives down the road from me, or just a neighbor right down, and they both came over and looked at my house. She looked at my beams, and she warned me repeatedly that she's worried about them falling, etc. There seems like there's a culture of concern for others around here. This was her grandfather's home. Actually, he built it. He built this and owned all the land around, so I feel a bit indebted to the legacy that he left, and would really like to maintain a proper respect and relationship with my fellow villagers. Then I started taking out these posts after that, and whatever posts were loose I would cut out and knock them down. After I got this done, I went back up to my roof and started work up there, tearing everything out, prying the floorboards up, and I found out that this was a lot easier than how I was doing it last week. If I pried the floorboards up and lifted them away, then the mud and the lath from underneath could just fall to the ground, and I wouldn't even have to peel it off. So I was working double last week, and especially peeling that off with my bib overalls, I realized that I get quite a bit of dirt and sticks tickling my gut as they fell down my overalls and then down into my shoes. So it's not the smartest to wear overalls whenever you're working above yourself. After this, I switched to a view from the bottom so you can see how that falls apart when you hit it. It just Comes down pretty easily, a lot easier than going to all the work of peeling it apart. And then, true to my neighbor's worries, I discovered some ladybugs on my one wall. And here I am going back and cutting out a couple more posts that were feeling pretty loose. So I tore these out, these 2 posts. I am down to, at the end of the video, down to just 2 posts left that go up. You can see the top beam sag. This is a little tricky because there's a beam running under the actual load-bearing beam, but I didn't want the whole thing to fall down because I was worried it'd twist the outside wall, so I had to pry up another beam underneath and screw that up on the side so that it would stay in there and then hold it. Then here I am starting at the floor again, just getting to work it, tearing up the floor in the kitchen. This is the last wood floor in the house. And here I was actually able to, after a little bit, you'll see, I was able to save a lot of these boards. It worked quite well, and they're really nice boards. There's not much mud or rot on them. As I had said before, I met 2 of my neighbors this week, and then a little later on in the week, a neighbor from up the road a little bit came down and said hi too. She asked me if I spoke Deutsch, and I had to tell her I didn't. It's kind of like when I met the first neighbor whenever we bought our property. She asked if we speak, I think it was Italian, and then she asked if we speak Spanish, then she asked if we speak Romanian, and then Ukrainian, and went through a whole list of languages, and I felt rather dumb that I only know English. A lot of the people around here are very bilingual. This village was settled in the 1920s or the First World War. I think it was from Ukraine, so a lot of the villagers would know an older dialect of Ukrainian, and most of the villagers would be Ukrainian descent. So I'm guessing the grandfather of my neighbor lady that occupied this house was Ukrainian, most likely. You can see on the far wall how that is sagging in, and you can see right through on that wall, that whole wall I'm going to need to rebuild. There was one person told me to tear everything down to the foundation. They liked the foundation, but they thought I should tear off the walls. I think I'm going to just dig into it and see what is worth saving and what's not worth saving as I go, make that decision. But that whole end wall will need to be torn up. That's where those ladybugs were, and a lot of that wood has termites and other, I don't know what's in it, so a lot of it's just rotted out. A lot of the beams, a lot of the interior wood, so there's not much structural about that end wall. That is where I'm planning on eventually putting my kitchen in, so I can put a window in that wall above the sink to look down kind of over the village, kind of into the neighbor's property, but that'll work well with the plumbing and electrical that I want to put in there anyway, so it'll all work together. After I got all that wood out, I decided to tear out the middle beam. There's a beam running along the floor in the very center where the wall across the middle used to be. So I decided to tear that out. When I cut that end there, it made a little pop. So there was actually, it was a little bit of something, I don't know what it was that was holding up. And I cut that end, and then I cut as close as I could on the other end. I'd like to use this beam somewhere. I thought it was kind of interesting how they had done that, where it crisscrossed. They actually cut the beam diagonal. I guess it had some strength. And then here's some final pictures of the house after it's done this week. So that's how clean it looks. And then a pan up to my ceiling, and there you go.